Hey everyone, welcome to Off the Top Rope. I get to talk about my favorite thing in the world, AEW television, because holy shit, this episode of Dynamite was dog shit. This company is ice cold. You know the song Ice Ice Baby? Yeah, it is ice cold. Because holy shit, this crowd was dead. This crowd didn't care. These matches were jammed together. Not a lot of chance to breathe. They jammed like 6 matches into this show. You main event with a tag match with, my guys FTR, which have completely lost a ton of steam since being the tag team champions almost a calendar year ago. This show sucked, man. This show really, really sucked. Jay White, Juice Robinson, Hangman Page, Christian Cage started this show. Hangman Page and Christian Cage won this match. Juice Robinson gets pinned after the referee's distracted by Mother Wayne. I'm starting to get tired of this Christian Cage act. I love Christian. I think he's one of the most underappreciated stars of the last 20, 25 years. This act is getting old. They should have done the Luchasaurus thing before he had his health issue. Now Kip Sabian's in the mix. I just don't care. And Hangman Page should be, fighting the good fight, but he's a heel. He should be fighting the good fight on behalf of AEW, but he's embroiled in this other circumstance with Jay White. And I love Jay White. Jay White could be a good case to fight for AEW. Why are these guys fighting each other? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So then we get a backstage segment with Mercedes Moné just berating Camille, who is in an arm sling, and just berating her in her annoying act. Like, Camille, I tweeted this at Off the Mic 28, and you could go follow me there. You could follow the show or follow the channel at OT Mike Sports. Camille is the worst bodyguard figure, male or female, in the history of professional wrestling. All this woman has done since she got to AEW is, occasionally beat a couple of bum female opponents in squash matches because she's significantly more intimidating, bigger in size, or she's gotten her ass kicked, and then she's basically run away with Mercedes Moné or tried to protect her. And now Mercedes Moné is berating her and saying she sucks because we've seen this before with Wardlow and MJF. They're literally doing the same thing. And so then Renee Paquette's doing this interview with Mercedes. She's talking shit about Chris Statlander, who's magically a babyface now. And Chris Statlander just attacks, Mercedes, and then spears her and Camille through a wall. And that's the segment. That's one of your top women's feuds in the entire company right now. That's your savior of the women's division, Mercedes Moné. Nobody cares about it. I like Chris Statlander. I think she's awesome. Nobody cares about this. And then the bodyguard figure in this whole thing. Like, let's get real. Bodyguard figures, specifically female on the female end, have not been booked very well. Raquel Rodriguez, I've talked about it on this show. She has not been handled well since she's returned to be the bodyguard for Liv Morgan. But that pales in comparison to what's going on with Camille and Mercedes Moné. And that segment was bad. It was not great for a backstage segment. Then Will Ospreay gets a segment with Kyle Fletcher. This, honest to God, was probably one of the better things on this show, where they go back and forth personally and, take jabs at each other about, Fletcher being like the Ospreay clone. And Will Ospreay gets really personal. Will Ospreay, I know he gets a lot of shit for just, not selling in his matches and not being the greatest promo. He's honestly been the best thing in AEW this year. He really has. Really has, honest to God, almost everything that he's done this year, whether you love him or you hate his wrestling style, it's been compelling television. And the people really react to him. And so I give him credit. Like, I would say, Swerve Strickland and his title reign was kind of hit and miss, the Bryan Danielson stuff. But as a singular performer from start to finish this year, and he got a late start, he didn't get to AEW until March. Will Ospreay's been the best thing in this company. And the stuff he's going to do with Fletcher is going to be good. I like Kyle Fletcher, young star. We'll see how the match goes. There's been some aspects of Will Ospreay's booking, like how they did the whole thing with Ricochet was ridiculous. But this segment with Fletcher was fine. It was probably the best thing on this show. So then you get Brian Cage and Lance Archer, trying helping out the Don Callis family. Powerhouse Hobbs and Mark Davis are helping Ospreay in this thing, and one thing leads to the next, and Lance Archer has a Falls Count Anywhere match with Roderick Strong, and Roderick Strong's there. Roderick Strong ends up winning his match with Lance Archer. There was a couple of weird spots in this match where the Undisputed Kingdom gets involved. But after the match, Takeshita runs out and he attacks Strong from behind. It leads Adam Cole. So they're rapidly throwing these things together, not really giving it a chance to breathe. I mean, it flowed okay because I get it. All these pieces kind of made sense together. But still, it felt kind of rushed. It felt like they were jamming about a million things into one thing. Takeshita being in a match with Adam Cole, like, I understand the Don Callis, hired gun thing, but Takeshita had just taken a pinfall loss to Ricochet. Adam Cole's facing him. And then Adam Cole loses because Takeshita hits him in the face with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And Adam Cole, who had just came back, is losing to Takeshita. He shouldn't have been in the match with Takeshita to begin with, but now the whole selling point of this build with him and MJF was him and MJF were going to face each other. And now Roderick Strong gets the three wins before Adam Cole, and Adam Cole loses at the very end. So are we just slow playing this thing? Like, what are we doing? Like, this feud shouldn't have been resumed to begin with because the roles have been reversed. Like, Adam Cole was supposed to be the heel in this thing and then got hurt, which was unfortunate. And this whole feud has been blown to bits. It's been botched to the nth degree. But, man, and then MJF's shown laughing because now he doesn't have to have a three-way match. It's now MJF and Roderick Strong on pay-per-view, I guess, which I love Roddy. That's not a pay-per-view match, man. MJF Adam Cole, as bad as it's been handled, that's the pay-per-view match that you had to go with. So this was odd. Like, everything with this MJF Adam Cole thing has been just botched. Whether it's been, injuries, or ever since they came back at Wrestle Dream, it's just been a dud of a feud. It doesn't make any sense. And then, Kyle O'Reilly's there. He shows up to help Roderick Strong, who gets attacked after the match. And then it looks like Roddy and O'Reilly are okay, but then O'Reilly's not okay with Adam Cole. Okay, that's weird. It's weird. Then we get the Death Rider segment. The Hurt Business or the Hurt Syndicate has a segment backstage. Listen, I like all the Hurt Syndicate guys, but there's a reason why WWE moved off of Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin. They're up there in age. And Bobby may have more to offer than the other two, and I think Shelton Benjamin, for his age, is still in really phenomenal condition and can still really work a match. There's a reason why WWE has kind of turned the page and moved towards the future and is kind of focusing on, younger talent. And it's worked out for them. Like a Braun Breaker in the mid-card. Or, Cody Rhodes at the top of the card. Or, Kevin Owens is getting more of a push now. There's a reason why Lashley didn't have anything for him at the end of at the end of his run in WWE. But then we get to this Moxley Orange Cassidy promo. Moxley talks about how he's going to turn Orange Cassidy into hamburger meat, and while he's cutting this promo, you can audibly hear a fan just scream at the top of his lungs through the microphone, "Go back to Roman. This is your world champion," getting yelled at. And I like Jon Moxley. I think Jon Moxley is great. But he's been getting exposed here. He's not. There's a reason why Seth and Roman have worked a lot better as a top guy as opposed to Jon Moxley. It worked early on in AEW, but now at this stage of his AEW run, 5 years into this thing, Jon Moxley doesn't need to be the world champion. And whatever the hell this angle is with the Death Riders, it ain't working. Like, Jon Moxley doesn't show up with the championship at all. He's beaten up Darby Allin. He's having this weird complex with Wheeler Yuta. Orange Cassidy is challenging for the World Heavyweight title at the pay-per-view. I love Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy ain't a World Heavyweight Championship contender. Let's get real. OC, I love him, man. The gimmick is weird, but his wrestling ability, he is bell to bell one of the best workers in professional wrestling. But you cannot honestly tell me that you believe that Orange Cassidy is going to beat Jon Moxley for the World Championship at Full Gear. He beat him a couple times last year. Congratulations. Who cares? That was for the International Championship. This is the top program in your promotion, and you've got fans yelling at your world champion, go back to Roman. The guy in the other place, the top star in the other place, who had, since Jon Moxley left WWE, has been elevated to a stratosphere. Roman Reigns has been elevated to a stratosphere that very few wrestlers have been elevated to as the tribal chief or the OTC. The level of aura that he has developed since Jon Moxley ironically left for the other place is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And you've got people yelling at your world champion about that. That's the indication of where your company is at. So that was ridiculous. This whole thing, Darby Allin gets thrown into a wall and gets swung into a parking garage like that shed by Claudio Castagnoli. I don't even know. Like I told a buddy of mine this the other day. The only person that's really even been elevated from the spot that they previously were in by this Death Riders angle is Marina Shafir. Because Marina Shafir was kind of a joke character. And she really didn't cut a promo very well. Nothing was very intimidating about her. And since she's been associated with Jon Moxley, she's kind of been kind of a badass in this whole thing. She doesn't really do anything outside of beat people up, but hey, that's better than what she was previously. Jon Moxley hasn't changed a damn bit. He's still Jon Moxley. Wheeler Yuta, I don't care still. Claudio, I think Claudio's great, but what has he done with this group? Pac, nothing. Nothing. Nobody has benefited from this, and we are now, what? This was post All In. We're what? 3 months, 2.5, 3 months into this thing? Nothing's happened. And wherever this thing is going, I'm not interested. And that's your top program on your show. And you've got people yelling, go back to Roman. Go back to where the top guy is in the other place that you left 5 years ago. That's the state of AEW right now. Britt Baker had a match with Penelope Ford. I don't know why. You could hear a pin drop during this match. Britt Baker, who was once the most over woman in this division, nobody cares anymore. So Britt Baker wins. It was a fine match, but nobody cared. Nobody cares about Penelope Ford. And then Serena Deeb just shows up on the ramp, and you could audibly hear Britt Baker say, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Gee, what a great way to build your women's division when your next challenger for Britt Baker is literally staring at her at the ramp and Britt Baker saying, nobody cares. Great job. Great job with the women's division. Because they can't book significant women's segments, and one of the biggest criticisms in WWE is their women's division is not strong. Outside of NXT, WWE is doing a much better job of booking their women than AEW is. When the best thing you have on your show is a backstage segment with Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander. Jamie Hayter had a brief segment where they teased something with Julia Hart. And then you've got Britt Baker beating Penelope Ford in 10 minutes, and then Serena Deeb is the next person for Britt Baker. Like, what? What are we doing? Fine match, but who cares? Mina Shirakawa, great to see her. Harley Cameron, who's just, her whole thing is that she's just goofy. I guess they're going to have a match. Anna Jay's facing Mariah May on Collision for the Women's Championship. Anna Jay's improved immensely, but I'm sorry, Mariah May's championship reign has been an absolute dud so far. So there's that. Swerve Strickland has a match, a 10-minute match with Lio Rush. I don't know why Swerve Strickland needs to go 10 minutes 50-50 with Lio Rush to build to his match with Bobby Lashley at the pay-per-view. And then the Hurt Syndicate just beats the shit out of him after the match, and beats the shit out of Nana as well. But I don't know what Swerve Strickland got out of this whatsoever. Swerve Strickland's awesome. I mean, the most significant thing that happened after this is Swerve Strickland said the wrong part of Connecticut. And then the fans started chanting and woke up because they'd been dead the whole show. They start chanting, "This is Bridgeport." And Tony Khan was tweeting, yeah, the fans were chanting, "This is awesome." Like, Tony, buddy, they weren't chanting, "This is awesome." They were chanting, "This is Bridgeport," because Swerve Strickland got the town wrong. So that's a whole separate issue. But yeah, Jamie Hayter, I mentioned she had a segment that got interrupted by Julia Hart. I guess Julia Hart and Jamie Hayter are going to have a feud. Jamie Hayter should be fighting for bigger things than this. Same thing with Julia Hart. I think Julia Hart should be firmly in the mix with whoever comes out of that Mercedes Moné, Chris Statlander match. I think that makes way more sense than going after Jamie Hayter, who should firmly be in the position to going after Mariah May after presumably she beats Anna Jay on Collision this week. So that's weird. FTR then faces Malachi Black and Brody King. Malachi Black, a lot of people thought Malachi Black was getting ready to leave. That didn't happen, so there's that. And then FTR just loses, and then they just shake hands at the end of the show, and that's the end of the show. So what this is Malachi Black and Brody King, Kings of the Black Throne. They go to Full Gear. They're going to face the Outrunners and Private Party, who are now the tag team champions. And then the Acclaimed are going to face Rush and the Beast Mortos on Collision to determine the final participants in this Fatal 4-Way. I would anticipate that Rush and the Beast Mortos are going to win that match because the Acclaim seem to be hinting at a split. Max Caster has seemingly been going more heel, and he might be teasing at joining the Hurt Syndicate, and Anthony Bowens doesn't want anything to do with it. I think the Acclaimed, they're near an expiration date. I thought that there was a lot more steam behind this team, but it's just gotten stale. They haven't changed. They haven't done anything. Even the daddy ass component of this thing hasn't worked. But yeah, that's where the show is. Ice cold. Like this company, just when I think they can't go even lower, it's ridiculous. Like, Chris Jericho's a champion in 2024, and he's facing Tomohiro Ishii in 2 weeks in Chicago, where they showed footage of a match where him and Ishii were chopping each other, and Chris Jericho busted open his chest. Like, that's where this company is. Your world championship match is Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley, a match you did a year ago for the international championship. Darby Allin is a part of this angle, but he keeps getting his ass beat. Your women's division is a mess. Like, what is really good in AEW right now? I told you it. I think the best thing in this company right now is Will Ospreay. That's the best thing in this company right now. The one core signing that you had from the start of this year. Mercedes Moné, Aura gone. Kazuchika Okada, where the fuck is he? I guess he's going to be part of the Continental Classic that starts in 2 weeks. Congratulations. He's the Continental Champion. Nobody gives a shit about him. Jack Perry is going to probably lose the TNT Championship to Daniel Garcia. I like Daniel Garcia, but there's nothing there. There's just nothing there in terms of, like, massive appeal. Like, this company needs help. Just because they got paid doesn't mean that you automatically get a pass. You got an extension television-wise. Congratulations. There is nothing that pops off of this show that tells me, hey, I need to watch that. I watch the shows because I like talking about it, but I'm frustrated because there is so much talent in this place, and Tony Khan is booking this show like a fucking mark. You got MJF to stay. Congratulations. I don't think WWE wanted him. Adam Cole, once thought to be the future piece of WWE, has gone to AEW, and it's been injuries. I understand that, but nobody cares. Will Ospreay's the best thing you got going there. And he's in a mid-card feud with his best friend, Kyle Fletcher. And nobody's going to care about that. It'll admittedly be probably the best match on the show, and they'll do a bunch of cool shit. But what is exciting about, like, you'll have Ricochet and Takeshita for, what has Ricochet done since he got there? There's nothing. This company is ice cold. I would rather watch a TNA pay-per-view right now. And that's not to be an indictment on TNA, because they've got their own flaws too. But at least WWE and TNA are trying with storylines, and they're not just booking matches and just expecting you to be a sicko and give a crap about it. Like, that's my problem with AEW. And no matter what cool signing they do, nothing is working. You can't just keep throwing money at the next big star like a Bobby Lashley who just got out of his WWE contract and expect that to inject, some life in your company. The Hurt Syndicate idea is cool. Yeah, it was cool 4 years ago when nobody was there at COVID. Now you're trying to run it back 4 years later, and maybe it'll work and maybe generate anything, but it's not going to give you any tangible buzz to change your ratings and help you beat NXT, a developmental show that's doing better than you right now. So those are my thoughts here on Off the Top Rope. I have to go off the top rope. We'll have more stuff. A lot of cool stuff going on in the build to Survivor Series War Games. We're going to clearly have 5-on-5 stuff on both the men's and women's side. Some spoilers are out there. I haven't seen them, but I've heard murmurs about who the fifth guy is going to be on each team for the Bloodline War Games match. And then the women's match is kind of just getting thrown together at the last minute, which, kind of is what it is, just because you really don't have anything tangible on the women's side for War Games that really, jumps off the page. So they're just throwing their top women's talent all in one match. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I will have more of that later in the week. I will talk to you guys real soon. Bye-bye.